Chris Weil and Julie Matthews are indisputably the UK's best-known and most hard-working musicians on the world folk root scene. The multi-instrumentalists are renowned for their seamless harmonies and affinity for each other on stage. Welcome to Queer Conversation Podcast, brought to you by Lottel Media, a show where we discuss all things queer. I'm your host, Silke Bader, a publisher and producer in the LGBTQI+ space for the past 30 years. In case Chris Weil and Julie Matthews have so far passed you by, they are the longest-lasting female duo in Britain. They have played over 2,500 gigs, appeared on over 100 albums, written hundreds of original songs and reached millions worldwide. 27 years after their debut, they sound as fresh and vital as ever. They are best friends, but they argue and disagree. Authenticity is a top priority. They have toured Australia and New Zealand biannually for over 2 decades, earning them their rightful place as festival headliners and building a following they're as loyal as that in the UK. They are the longest enduring female duo in Britain. Welcome to Lottel Media and Queer Conversation in the virtual studio with me today. I've got Julie Matthews and Chris Weil from the UK. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
You are the longest lasting duo, female duo in the UK, because you've been recording together for over 20 years.
Yeah, it's actually 20, it'll be 29 years this year.
28.
28
years.
We haven't had a break, so that's what's made us the longest. I think Shakespeare's sister, who are more the pop side, I think they've kind of been going a similar length, but I think they had a break of about
10-year break,
15 years or something. So yeah.
We live in the same house, and we share a studio out there, and so we're together most of the time, really, aren't we?
In fact, remarkably, and I think this is quite unusual and historic, really. Chris and I were a couple, and we were a couple for
11 years.
11 years. But after we split, we never stopped working together, so we carried on working together. And then I eventually moved back here, not as a couple, but really as best friends. And we share a house together, so we have a career together, and we're soulmates, really. You know, and I can honestly say, hand on heart, after 28 years of doing this with Chris, it's still a thrill and a privilege every time I get on stage. It really is.
Yeah, for me too.
To describe your music, it's folk music. Is that how you would describe it?
It's really hard to pigeonhole us because, you know, I think we cross over so many boundaries. I guess in the sense of folk music that if you looked at what folk music really is, then it should be the music of the people. It's folk music. And I think that's what we endeavour to do. We try to tell the stories of everybody and to reach everybody, to touch everybody.
Yeah, and I agree, but it's more like the Americana side of folk music is how we are, because we write all our own songs and they're quite modern. But yeah, like Bruce Springsteen sings folk songs, you know, and Joni Mitchell too. So in that vein, it's folk music.
Yeah,
but what is folk music? It's very hard, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think some festivals have a big umbrella of what it encompasses, folk music. And I really love, like, the festivals in Australia really do have that big umbrella. So you get the contemporary singer-songwriters, but you also get a pipe player, or you also get a traditional singer, and I love that. Chris and I definitely fall into the contemporary. I mean, Chris plays electric guitar sometimes as well, so we're not necessarily just acoustic. Sometimes we do all kinds of, we mix it up quite a lot.
What we love more than anything is communicating how we feel about what we do to the audience, and so far that's really worked, and we've made a really lovely... In fact, one woman came up to us at Port Fairy a few years ago and she said, "Thank you so much for coming back." She said, "It's brilliant because you've been coming that long. We feel like we're getting older with you. We're growing older together."
Let's talk about your Australian tour. The Australian folk festival scene is really vibrant, and that is probably one of the reasons why you've been coming back.
The first time we came to Australia, everybody thought we were famous. and because we lived so far away, we didn't tell them any different. And we have a fantastic following in Australia. We're so lucky. And like Chris said, those people have kind of grown older with us. It's wonderful.
And it was a privilege to be Artist of the Year coming from the UK, playing in an Australian festival. And we love Port Fairy, actually. And we've played the Women Out Loud concert so many times now, which is on International Women's Day, and it's always an array of incredible women on the stage, and there's a round robin, and then we all start singing together, and it's such a privilege. And we were presented with a beautiful mate on guitar,
and it's quite humbling, really, because you're standing on stage, and it doesn't matter whether you then go on to play in the marquee, where there are 5,000 people, or you go in to a club tent and you play to 50 people. There are actually loads of people on that Women Out Loud concert. You can be standing next to Judy Collins. You can be standing next to someone who's on in the club tent.
We actually stood next to Renee Geyer. And we sang did. With her. We sang with her.
And that was
so sad to get
to hear of Renee. Yeah. So but what I mean is it's a leveller, and it's very humbling because it's talent. It's just a stage full of talent, and we're so lucky.
Crestfest is in Victoria, country Victoria. It's a 3-day festival, and you're performing there as well.
It's our first time at Crestfest. I mean, we spend a lot of time in Victoria, don't we? Do lots of gigs in Victoria, so we're really thrilled. And we've got friends in Ballarat where we're going to be staying as well, and afterwards, so
it's exciting for us too because we've never been before, but we've heard great things about it, and already we love the people that we've been dealing with. So
you're playing in quite a few different venues, but you're only traveling to 2 states.
Oh. It's just it filled up, and Julie's got a very old dad.
My dad's 94.
Yeah.
So normally we would extend the tour by a week or 2 either side, but I kind of limited it this time to a 6-week tour because to be away longer than that for Dad is a bit trying. But because the way our tour normally works is that we'll have a festival each weekend, and then in between 1 or 2 gigs.
Yeah.
But we don't want to do more than that. We will be spending a lot of time this time in Victoria and around Melbourne.
So I think we'll be taking some trips, and we like to go and see Hanging Rock and hang about. And there's a place called School Lane, and you sit in your car. It's a straight, flat road, and if you take your handbrake off, you roll backwards, even though you look like you're going downhill slightly. And if you turn round, it's the same way. It's like an optical illusion.
It's an optical illusion.
We always go there. And we were there once, and I came across this guy who had, those pianos that play themselves.
Oh, yeah.
He had about 30 in his garage. So we spent about half an hour. I met this lovely guy, and he played all his pianolas. So we like to go out and explore and meet people. And, of course, we got to hit the beach at some point,
And let's not forget as well that we're in England and it's miserable weather at the moment. It really is miserable. So we cannot wait for some sunshine. The first time we came, we went to Western Australia first, and it was a proper culture shock for us. I mean, big time. We'd just come from horrible weather, and we landed there and it was 45 degrees. And we played at a festival where, it was 48 degrees. It was so hot. And that was just like, and everything, you can't ever underestimate the difference between there and here. I mean, it's like our second home now, Australia. But when I look back to how it was when we first arrived, the smell's different, the light is different, even the roadkill. I mean, that's completely, everything about it is different. Yeah. The sounds of the bush, the sounds of the birds, everything. It's so
also
beautiful.
the people here, this kind of, it's not, they're not really like moaning, but it's a kind of a different way of being. When you go to Australia and you say, oh God, it's really hot, and they say, they've got this no worries attitude, haven't they? Yeah. And they never really didn't really complain, did they, the people we know in Australia?
Is there somebody that you haven't played with, or like a musician that has just come to your attention that you would love to perform with?
Well, I'd love to perform with Bonnie Raitt, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. And she's in America.
No, I think me and Julie should do a gig with the Indigo Girls. That would be fantastic. The four of us, we'd love that.
Yeah, that would be great.
That.
In fact, the first time we came to Australia, we hadn't heard of the Indigo Girls, and he's now a very good friend of ours. But I mean, we are talking 25 years ago. But he said, "You remind me of the Indigo Girls," and we said, "I've never heard of them." And he said, "You've never heard of them?" And he did as a mixtape, and we were driving from Melbourne up to Brisbane. We wanted to do a road trip because we wanted to see a bit of Australia, and he did as a mixtape of the Indigo Girls, and we fell in love on that journey, you know, and we've been in love with them ever since, really. So yeah,
great women.
Yeah.
What tip would you give a young singer and songwriter?
Be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Don't fall into the trap of being, especially by, and I don't want to stand on a soapbox here, but don't be manipulated by men in the industry who want to turn you into something else. Because be strong, be true to yourself. Write what you believe is, because that is what makes you an authentic artist.
Yeah,
being true to yourself.
Being authentic is so important.
Stick at it. Get your music out there. We now live in an age where social media can get your music out for you. So just, you know, pour your heart out with it. That's what I
like to say to people. Exactly that. Be authentic, but also realise that your somebody told me once that think of your talent as your child, and you wouldn't take second best for your child. Don't take second best for your talent. No, put it first and treat it well. You know, look after it. And also, if this is your career, this much is your talent. You've got to be able to do marketing. You've got to get on with people. You've got to work with the right people. You've got to have a vision of what you want to do, a dream, and go for that dream. Don't let anybody put you off, like Julie said. But learn all those other things, because being good isn't enough. It's just not enough.
Yeah,
there's so many great musicians that we know that don't leave their living room because they haven't explored that other part that you have to do, you know.
I think Chris and I are quite lucky in the respect that as a duo, we each have we bring our own things to the table, as well as being singers and musicians, but we also have our own skills. Chris does all our web design. She does all the video editing. She does all of that side of it. And I do the technical side of in the studio. Yeah. So I run our studio. We have our own studio here down the garden. We had one built. So all our albums come out of there, and I run the technical side of the studio. So we kind of have made it. We're partners with another guy in our own publishing company, our own record company. So everything is very much in-house. Yeah, nobody's in control of us.
We've had a lot of autonomy, and we're very lucky for that.
Yeah.
We've been very blessed, really. You know, but you've got to kind of stick out for it. You know, you've got to say, no, this is what I want to do. And if you say it loud enough, nobody can say no to you, can they? You don't take any bullshit.
I mean, when I was 18 and I was in the process of being signed to a company, it was lose weight, do this, do that. You've got to be a certain way.
And for God's sake, don't tell anyone you're gay.
Oh, yeah, forget that. Don't do that. And I kind of think I have had a long career, a really good, healthy, long career where I love the skin I'm in, and I'm proud of who I am, so I think that is more important.
If you can get to this point and feel great about what you've done, you know you've done it right. It doesn't matter if you're not hugely successful, but if you feel good about it, you know, you do feel good about it at the end of the day.
Your latest EP came out in 2022, last year. How do you feel this EP is different? I'm asking because I assume it would have been written throughout COVID, at a time when you did not have interactions with your fan on a live stage. And I know this affected a lot of artists. And so I'm wondering if you feel that this latest EP is kind of a very different style from what you've been doing, or not.
I think so. I think there are reflective songs as well about the disconnect from people on there. So there's I think there's 3 on there that definitely relate to that time. If in 15 years, 20 years' time someone puts this on, they would definitely know that this is an album from this era. But as far as...
Yeah, it's very... it's different also because it's very... the songs are about women. A lot of the songs are about women that we admire, that we aspire to be. For instance, and women that we've known that have maybe gone now, you know. It's just came that way where we just got in that state of mind, didn't we? Where we were just thinking about great women, and it's all happened on this album. So we're really pleased about that. There's one about a young woman who figured out how to help Afghani girls be educated by using little burner phones that you can't trace, and they send them SMS messages, and they're learning in their bedrooms in secret. Isn't that amazing?
And brave.
It's just brilliant. And there's one about one of our best friends who's a bass player who had breast cancer that Julie wrote about. You can talk about.
Well,
that.
she had breast cancer, and rather than have reconstruction after her mastectomy, she had a tattoo, and it's an amazing tattoo.
It goes down her arm and across her chest.
It's all about that, the fact that this is a roadmap to her of it's not something to cover the scar up, it's something to celebrate the life that she now has.
And so I guess they're all warriors, aren't they? They're all warriors, the women on our album. They're in their own way, and it's fantastic to sing about.
But it was also a fantastic thing for us to, when we made the album, we'd come out of lockdown, so to actually be able to have the musicians in our studio again, and to interact with musicians again, that was the biggest joy for me of the album. And as I say, we're very lucky we live together, so we could still make music together. But I know a lot of musicians, a lot of our friends, really, their health suffered badly throughout that. Their mental health suffered badly. So I feel very blessed that I still had Chris. But then to go out and sing in front of real people again was amazing.
I'm really excited seeing you come down under. It is your 14th tour. Where can people purchase your latest EP or the other EPs, and how can they find out about where you're performing?
Yeah, if you go to whileundermatthews.com, you'll find out all our tour dates are up there. We have a shop, online shop. Oh, everything's there. There's biographies, you name it. It's all up there. It's pretty comprehensive, the website. Or you can join us on Facebook, where we're pretty active on Facebook.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining Queer Conversation. It was lovely chatting with you. And I encourage everyone to hop onto your website, follow you on socials to find out especially where the dates are and the venues are where you perform, to be able to see you. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook using the tag @LottleMedia, or head over to our website, lottle.com. Thanks again, and see you next time.